All right, we're going. What's up?
How are you?
I've been really good. How long has it been since we've spoken?
Last time I think it was like 2 months ago.
Time flies.
It does.
It seriously does. What was my question? My number one question for you today was, all I hear about is stock market crashing.
Yeah.
And you as a person who trades stock.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Honestly, from a long-term investment standpoint, that's actually kind of rattled me a little because actually there's this author, the name is escaping me. It's a very popular book, A Random Walk Down Wall Street. He literally talks about how the only logical thing to do investing in the stock market is to just put your money in what's called an index fund. So the index fund basically just tracks the whole market or like a certain sector of the market. So like the most popular one is called the S&P 500. It basically it just tracks the top 500 companies in terms of market cap. But what was crazy is that the market dropped like 3% a day, 2% a day, day after day. And so
man.
Even that kind of made me wonder, like, is it even worth it at all? And I mean, I feel like the whole world as a whole is just kind of worried about where to put their money right now. Considering, though, for my trading that I'm bearish, that I'm always shorting, it was kind of a good thing for me. But because I need the prices to go down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
From my day trading, it doesn't really affect me, honestly. There will always be companies that are shooting up and reverting back down. And on the day. That's where I'm looking at.
So you could always have an income, a steady income that way?
Yeah, unless the whole market literally gets abolished. Yeah.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, unless the stock market literally just closes.
Which would be impossible.
Yeah. So do you hold like stock that you don't touch? Like, do you have any?
No, I actually don't have any long-term stuff.
No? Okay.
All my money that I make from my job, I just funnel that into trading right now.
Okay. So 2 months ago, you were talking about how you do it once a day. You don't let yourself do any more.
Yeah.
Are you still doing that?
Yeah, actually, recently I tried to hold positions for a little bit longer, for like a week or so, and that's called swing trading. I was doing that because
I could not do that. I couldn't sleep at night.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and if you're a trader, you really just got to ask yourself what kind of personality fits the market in terms of yourself. Like when I was doing that, I need to know if I'm right or wrong right away. That's just kind of who I am. And I don't think trading is a time for you to work on your weaknesses. It's really, you should be playing to your strengths. So if you're a person who needs to know right away or has that impatience, you're probably better to day trade, open and close positions in one day. Don't try to hold it. It kind of does suck because you have to stay glued to the screen, and you don't make money passively, which is one of the beauties of the financial markets. But
so with day trading, you don't make money passively, but if you hold it, you do.
Yeah, you're not. That's like the number one rule, though. Don't hold it if you're day trading. Day traders, you have to open and close it all in one night. You never hold.
Okay.
I've tried to hold it overnight. It doesn't work out.
Dang. Does it ever work out? Or is it just
it can. It's just I don't know. I almost feel like the universe is gonna make you pay for doing something you're not supposed to do.
That makes sense. Makes sense.
Which I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, fair enough. Man, it just sounds like I don't hold any stock. I think I bought Bitcoin in 2017 actually.
But
then but I was part of a pyramid scheme. There was a lot of so somebody I knew, he was a really trustworthy friend of mine, but he was also caught in a pyramid scheme, a crypto pyramid scheme, which exists somehow. I don't know how it worked. But basically, you get other people to buy Bitcoin on a certain platform, and everybody under you makes money, that kind of pyramid scheme. But then I looked into it, and I was like, wait a sec, this isn't cool. So I just sold my Bitcoin. I knew nothing about it. I was like, all right, I'm getting out. Fuck this.
Were you able to sell for a profit or?
Slight profit. I sold it.
It's better than a loss.
A couple weeks later, I sold
That's good.
it.
Yeah.
So and this was late 2017 when everybody was talking about it for the first time, at least mainstream.
Yeah.
And it was around 20,000 Canadian, something like that.
Yeah.
And just recently it hit an all-time high of $69K US.
Yeah.
So it gives you an idea of if I held that Bitcoin, I wouldn't be a millionaire, but I would have made $1,000, $2,000.
Yeah.
I bought $100 of Bitcoin, so that's all I bought.
It's they're all Forex, stocks, crypto, really interesting worlds, the different ways they all function.
Yeah, why not you said you bought a crypto but not Bitcoin?
Oh, I was thinking of buying it's It's called Filecoin.
Oh, you're thinking about it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because like your brother mentioned, it's on sale. That's actually a very healthy reaction to market crashes. So it's like Warren Buffett said, when people are being greedy, you should be fearful. When people are being fearful, you should be greedy. It's really nice for people who want to buy it that it's crashed in a way, because with lower prices, it's easier to get a percent range when it starts to go back up again. It's like everything that's dropped down is now at a discount. And that's like the Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, those investors. That's one of their 4 main rules, is you're always trying to buy something at a discount. No matter how good it is, the price can't be infinite. So you always want to have, they call it a margin of safety.
Okay.
As low as you can get that company or that crypto or whatever you're looking into.
Yeah. What's Filecoin? What's that about?
Honestly, I need to do more research into it. That's why I said I was thinking about it.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
It basically, though, like from a chart standpoint, it hit its high at like 240, and now it's at like 19 last time I checked. So it's got a long gap that it could go.
Yeah.
It is one of the more popular ones. However, yeah, I'm not going to say like it's the next greatest thing, because I need to do more looking into it, because I've just been very focused on my day trading and stocks.
Yeah. Yeah. But what have you learned in 2 months?
I've learned that if you trade off strategy, even the slightest minute way, you're going to lose money.
What does that mean, trade off strategy?
So if you don't have a trading plan, you're probably going to lose, because it becomes a gamble if you let emotions get involved. If you have a whole set plan, then you're removing the emotions and you're
just pressing a button at that point.
Yeah. And I made my trading plan a long time ago. I mean, like, I won't go into the whole specifics, but it proved to be very profitable and very predictable also. It's kind of like a what goes up must come down sort of ideology. But with the limited access I had, I found myself to shorts. I found myself kind of going elsewhere. And even if I did the smallest thing different, it would turn out badly, which is kind of a good thing, because then you know that you have something that's working. If you're doing what does work, and it always works, or most of the time works, and then you change one little thing, it's like, well, you know that you've zeroed in on something that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah. Interesting. So what's your next step, like, when it comes to trading?
I would like to gain the patience to hold stuff, because it's really nice if you can make money while you're not working, obviously. Mm-hmm. Even as much as I love trading, you do still have to sit there. I mean, you could be like on vacation and you could be like realizing capital gains while you're on vacation, which would be great. But yeah, the last 2 months mostly have been from the emotional standpoint. I kind of think that like you get your fundamental theory as a trader, and then you develop a strategy, and then even with a great strategy, you're going to have to learn the emotional fortitude, because it's really fast paced, especially the quicker time frame that you're trading on, the faster paced it is, and the more danger of you falling into some kind of emotional clutter. But like at the end of the day, I love doing it. It's taught me a lot. I didn't like, even just like on the inside in life, being more patient, being more centered. Like it's definitely done a lot for me, and in ways that I didn't think it would. I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to travel. I wanted to go places with my girl, and then it kind of became an obsession almost.
Yeah. Or would you say you're like an obsessive personality type of guy? Because I certainly am. Like, I work in bursts, and when I'm into something, I'm like, it's all I think about all day, every day.
Yeah, and I actually last night, it was one of those nights you don't get much sleep because you're obsessing. You know, like you had this moment. We all have, I think. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, you know, it's great if you're excited about the future, but just stay in the present as much as you can. Just keep your thought bubbles mostly in the present. Like, you know, there's always time to like plan, but as we're getting older, time's going faster, and if you want time to be more fluid and kind of slow down for you, I think being in the present moment is probably the best way to do that.
Yeah. I find that the way the brain works is it's always on the next thing.
Yeah.
Like always. Like you could work for 3 months to get something, and then you get it, and then you're like, all right, what's next? And that's cliche. Everybody knows that, but man,
Ego.
it's so true in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Like, you're done this meal. All right, what's for dinner now?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, yeah. What kind of strategies do you have for yourself to like get your mind in check? Like, do you have like different practices that you do?
Like beforehand?
Anything.
I think doing some yoga and stretches is nice to get your body elastic. Meditating beforehand, but and I know a lot of other traders say this, like aerobic exercise beforehand is the number one best thing you can do.
Really?
Say I don't know the whole
Get
science
that
of it.
oxygen in your brain.
Yeah, like when you run, you like the acuity, the mental acuity just gets so sharp. So
you know what I have noticed? Okay, so there's this thing that I do. It's very strange, but I do it with my fingers, and it's like a pattern. So I skip a finger. So my thumb will touch my pinky, and then my thumb will touch my middle finger, and then it'll go to my ring finger, to the index, back to ring, back to middle, back to pinky. And I would just do that over and over. Right now I suck at it. I'm fucking up. But if I'm like in a stretch, for an example, like a really intense stretch, I'll do that perfectly. It's like something in my mind is activated once I'm in like this.
It's like your gears are trying to coordinate each other.
It's very strange. Like mostly when I try and do the splits. So I'll try and do the splits, and it hurts and it feels dangerous. Like I feel vulnerable when I'm in the splits. So there's like this weird fight or flight response, and my brain is just activated, and I can just like do this weird pattern with my fingers, amazingly. It's almost like if you were falling out of a tree, trying to like save your own life, and the ground was lava, then you would find a way to reach that branch. Like your mind, something in your mind would turn on, some survival thing. I don't know. I do notice that with the stretching, is that like my mind, like I feel like I can solve a lot more problems, technical problems, if I had stretched, or I'm literally in the middle of stretching or whatever.
And also about what you said, your brain wants one meal just after it's finished the last one. Do you find that fasting helps a lot with that? Because I honestly try to fast for at least 20 hours before, like one meal a day if I can, like, minus the time of eating, like 23 hours.
Have you ever had problems with being underweight?
No.
Okay, because I have, and that's my fear with fasting.
Okay, yeah.
Is like
you did say you wanted to put on weight. I remember last time I was
Yeah. Well, yeah, I do, but I don't want to be. I'm not looking to be big, like huge. I'm also not looking to be underweight either. I just want to be stable, flexible, strong enough to carry my own body weight, that kind of thing, like in the middle. And when it comes to fasting, it makes my mind feel great, right? Like I'm clear, I'm focused, and also my life is so simple. It's like, don't eat until this time, and then you don't have to think about it. But when I did it, I lost too much weight. Yeah. I was like, oh, darn. So it probably was because I find it hard, at least if you're eating low quality vegan foods, which if you're on a budget, you're probably eating low quality vegan foods. One meal a day won't cut it. You have to eat like high quality whole food, like hemp seed, which is expensive, pumpkin seed, expensive, avocado, expensive, like, like things that will actually put on weight and like give you what you need for the day. You can't like eat rice and beans for dinner. That's your only meal for the day, Yeah. So I found it tricky because I was on a budget at the time. But do you still fast every day or?
Yeah. The gyms aren't open now, I don't think. But I do want to actually.
Gyms are not open?
I don't think so. Unless they did reopen them. I know they closed them. I can't even follow it all.
Me neither, dude. Like they should at least like I don't know, give me mail. Just give me mail that tells me the rules. Like they don't even tell you. It's very strange. But you were going to the gym on the regular? Yeah.
And then COVID kind of put a stop to that, and it's been on and off. But I really want to actually like get big in terms of muscle. That's my goal. I had lost like 80 pounds over the years, and honestly probably still have some more fat to drop if you really want to get cut. But I'm not going to be able to fast because you can't fast 24 hours and then expect to put on muscle, because your body is not getting the nutrients in it right in the correct intervals.
Yeah, you got to really be careful, I think, when it comes to gaining weight while fasting.
Yeah.
And by gaining weight, I mean like building muscle.
Yeah.
Because it'll eat away at your body in a good way for a lot of people. But I ain't got shit to eat. Like, my body cannot eat itself. There will be a vortex within me that just disappears. So, yeah. Yeah, tell me about this book, actually. This,
Yes.
The Richest Man in Babylon.
So, obviously, like, real historical city. The richest city. In today's world, I think it's around Pakistan, is it not?
I don't know, but I know, like, in the Old Testament in the Bible, they talked about the Babylonians, but weren't they, like, oppressive? I don't even remember.
Well, the book is, it's basically, like, simple rules for building wealth. It's 3 stories of just 3 different men who, most of the time, the theme of the story is they were in poverty, they were in debt. Debt is a huge theme of the book. And there's actually one story. The man goes into so much debt, and he gets sold to be a slave. And one of the slavers' wives frees him, and then they kind of run out together. It's been a while since I read the book, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
And essentially, he goes back to Babylon, and he goes to all the people he was in debt to, and he says, like, I promise that I'm going to pay off all my debts. Just give me time. And he does. He's back with his wife when he's there. Talks about seeing the kind of the look of love back in her eyes when she's looking at him, because he's, actually going and doing what he's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he pays off his debts, he follows a simple rule that is still followed today. You invest 10% of everything that you earn, and one day you'll be wealthy. I mean, people always disagree with me when I say this, but $1 million is honestly, like, really not that much money. If you invested $100 a month into the S&P 500 index fund I was mentioning, because of the compounding dividends, you have about $1 million by retirement if you started at, like, 2025. I know one analyst said $55 a week, so $220 a month. And you would have 100% have over $1 million for your retirement nest egg. So it's really not that much.
Or not nowadays. I mean, like, the whole millionaire archetype, like, was this very powerful rich person, but I'm sure people were talking about, I want to be a millionaire, like, 50 years ago. Yeah. But millionaire is in the same context as it was 50 years ago.
No, there's people, like, not even running their own company. They're just on, like, a salary that's $1 million. Like,
and there are houses.
Yeah.
Probably, there's a few houses in Chatham that cost over $1 million. Mm-hmm. That's wild.
It is kind of crazy. I just read something yesterday that, like, the U.S. dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power since 100 years ago.
So, I mean, yes, everybody kind of knows that you could go and buy things with a penny, but, like, you don't think 97%. That puts it into perspective. Holy moly. Well, I've heard that they've printed 80% of the U.S. dollar or whatever in circulation has been printed within the last 2 years.
Yeah.
What does that do to the stock market? What does that do to, like, has that taken effect yet? Have we fully, like...
I honestly don't know. It's...
Because it doesn't seem that way.
But it doesn't.
80% is huge.
I mean, the rich got richer from all the printing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we have... It does look now like the stock market is going into a bear market, so it's going to be downwards for a while. But
okay, I have a question. What's the difference between a bear market and, like, a crash?
So
2 different things, right?
Yeah, and even a crash could be like a flash crash, just like 1987. They called it Black Monday. I think the market dropped like 500 and something points in a single day.
Okay.
There was another one in 2010. I think that was the year 2010 or 2012. A bear market is a more prolonged state of it just running downhill for years. Yeah. And then of course there's still companies that beat it, but for the most part, the market's moving down as a whole. And then so the bull market, it's moving up. Like a bull market in the 90s, it was an extremely bullish market. And then there was like the tech stock crash.
Is that like where it goes like that? Like it was up and then it was down and then now it's going
that's
up?
Like, I think they call it like parabolic, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, yeah, crashes, like it crashed when COVID was announced and then recovered a lot. So crashes can either be prolonged or more
I've
flashes.
heard that it recovered though because like they tossed money into it.
Makes sense.
I'm pretty ignorant, but like I've heard people say that like it was sort of artificially propped up, and that like I've heard that we're gonna feel the effects of all that.
I wouldn't
soon.
be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I actually was watching a video of like the major 5 crashes that happened throughout history,
Mm-hmm.
and there was always some big like government-based decision that caused the crash, accompanied with people using too much leverage, which is basically borrowing money that you don't have to put into the market, and then some kind of like geopolitical event. There's always like these 3 factors that cause the crash. Some policy put in place, a lot of leverage, and then some political event. Like
a war or a pandemic.
And then the 2008 crash was obviously like probably the worst one in our lifetime. And
that was what caused that one?
There was too much money being loaned out on mortgages that people couldn't afford, and then there was just a huge banking crisis from that. There was just
and then like, everybody suffered.
Yeah, it's like give everybody a house, and there was just all these loans going out, and the mortgage rates are just and it couldn't hold, and then eventually the fuse got lit, and then that was it.
Yeah, and everybody was really, really upset because basically like the common man had to suffer for that, but all the rich people, they got bailed out.
Yeah, like people would just lose like half of their wealth from their investments. Yeah.
That's terrifying. Does that not terrify you, like that could happen? That's the one reason, like I'm very ignorant when it comes to stock trading, but I haven't put money anywhere because I'm just terrified.
See, that's the beauty that I love of day trading. I know that a lot of investors...
Oh, I guess that's true. You're never like holding on to something that might just... Yeah, okay.
Even overnight. So if news comes out on the company overnight that goes against your position, you're not even affected by that. Honestly, though, investors are mostly... They hate day trading. Just like all view it as like it's a complete gamble and there's no strategy to it, which is ridiculous. There definitely is strategy to it. It is more akin to gambling than investing, I guess you could say. But even I don't know how much that is true, because you could be like we're just talking about. You could be having all these investments and then randomly something that's completely out of your control can happen.
Yeah, the reason I asked if it was akin to gambling earlier was because the emotional aspect.
Yeah, and
how you could kind of get addicted to the
and you are technically you're risking capital in the hopes of gaining more capital, just like so. But it's not like you're going to casino and you're playing blackjack and like hit me again.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah. You could be treating it that way. In that case, it's definitely
well, when
gambling.
you say hit me again, there's no information about what that card might be.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Right. So day trading's a bit different. You have a lot of info.
Yeah. It's just visualized data.
Yeah. Do you have any investments at all? Like.
Honestly, no.
No? Okay. So what's your plan with that? Like you make money. I mean.
I was looking at dividend investing.
Oh yeah.
So just when it comes to dividend investing too, you don't want to just buy all the companies that pay the highest dividend, because actually that's usually a sign of trouble if they pay like a super super high dividend.
Is that like desperation? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's like as the price goes down, the dividend goes up, and I suppose you definitely could say that if somebody sees like 15% dividend yield, which is extremely high, then that could attract stupid people to invest. Yeah,
that's a good point.
The company's in trouble if it's that high.
Yeah.
You don't need to have it super high either. You don't have to have like the highest paying dividend stock. Like if it's like even 2-something%, 2 to 3%, you're activating the compound effect. That's the beautiful thing. Like the eighth wonder of the world, Albert Einstein called it. So it's
Eighth wonder of the world?
Yeah, compounding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he called it.
That's funny.
And it's true. Like if you, I believe I read that 40% of all the wealth delivered to investors in the market was all from dividends. So
40%?
Yeah.
That's a hefty amount.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I talked into my water bottle.
No, that's okay. That sounded fun. That sounded good. Wow.
So that is why I like day trading. I just find it easier to patternize. And I think something that people really need to be aware of if you're thinking about investing in companies is that, like, it's really hard to evaluate a company if you don't have, like, extensive business training. And you can be overconfident in your decision. There's professionals doing it. It's not that I don't think that an average person can learn to do it. But, like, for instance, I just recently read a book on valuating a company. And all these equations and stuff, I had no idea what they were saying. And, like, even Warren Buffett himself said, I don't want people to wonder what my advice would have been after I'm dead. And his advice is just invest in index funds. They just track, like, they'll track real estate, they'll track small caps, they'll track large caps, they'll track tech companies. Like, there's a fund that just tracks the index of the overall sector that you're looking at. And it's so much easier.
Is that what he did?
He actually is taking 90% of all his money that he's going to leave to his wife when he dies is going to go into the S&P 500.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so he's that confident in it.
If somebody that powerful is confident, I guess you kind of can sleep at night a little bit more. Yeah. If you hold stock in whatever.
And historically, like, the crashes, the funds always recover.
Yeah.
Like, the S&P always recovers.
Have you heard about the group of billionaires that get together and talk about, like, the future of
Is that in that, like,
government
or something? There's, like, a Grove.
Oh, no, that's a different one. That's Bohemian Grove. That's, like, a bunch of people wearing robes and burning stuff in the woods. Bunch of rich people. Very, very weird.
Yeah.
No, I was talking about what is it called? The World Economic Forum.
Oh.
So
okay.
they basically a bunch of world leaders, political leaders, and billionaires meet and talk about like the future of government, the future of, like, systems and how they're going to work and stuff like that. And the leader of, or like the founder of that group is talking about this system where like the dollar becomes obsolete in the sense that I guess it's like a socialist / communist type of structure.
What do you think about crypto? Speaking of the dollar becoming obsolete.
Crypto, dude, I think it would be amazing if that is the case. If the dollar became obsolete and you could, but you could tell central banks are terrified.
Yeah.
Governments are terrified.
Yes, for sure.
Because anybody in power, like, that completely removes the power structure.
Yeah.
As it is.
Because it's decentralized, yeah.
Decentralized, and also just blockchain technology as a whole is just
so much. It's hard to crack. Very hard to crack.
Very fucking hard to crack. And it's getting better and better. Like, Bitcoin is pretty old.
Yeah.
As a technology, it's, like, pretty old. And it started getting attention, like, years after it was created. And here we are, like, over 10 years after Bitcoin was created, I'm pretty sure.
I saw a video of the creator of Ethereum.
Yeah.
I apologize to him. I forget his name.
What's his name? Vitalik?
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was saying that, I think he was in college or high school, one of the two, and a guy asked him to write blog posts for him about Bitcoin, and he said he would pay him, was it half a Bitcoin? Half a Bitcoin per article. And at the time, it was, like, worth next to nothing, but he was like, yeah, I could make, like, $10 a day. That sounds good to me. And then he just had, like, tons of Bitcoins, and it shot up.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that's freaky to think about, man. So, yeah, the reason I brought up, like, the billionaire group is you could tell that, like, they're looking at this technology. They're looking at the way things are. They're looking at the internet and how all this information is being, like, put out there, and you could tell they're like, okay, how do we stay in power with all this happening? Because it does remove, like, I guess the major incentive of being in power, which is money and a monopoly on money.
Yeah, just right? I love the peer-to-peer aspect of it and the security.
Too. Yeah.
The one thing I do still kind of wonder, though, is that it seems to kind of have some... I just don't think that it's, like, a done deal yet, that it's going to, like, all go up and everything's going to be great. Because if you look historically, there's been bubbles people thought were revolutions. They ended up being a bubble, and there's a huge crash. Like the tech stock crash, like only Microsoft and Apple and Intel, they were the only ones that survived. Everybody was putting their money into all these tech companies near Y2K, and then, like, all of them died off. I just wonder if...
Well, doesn't that always happen?
Yeah. And
where
like
it's
with
like,
crypto, I just wonder what will be the crypto, or will the banks just make their own? And
they're gonna try.
Yeah, you
could tell they're gonna try. Like, but the thing is, I think most people probably don't realize that, if if a big tech company or if a government makes a crypto coin, that it doesn't need to be on blockchain technology. They can centralize a cryptocurrency, but it'll still have that name. So it might, general public might not realize that, it's pretty much $1, but, I'm curious to see where it goes. Well, what do you think about the whole metaverse and sort of like the future of VR and such? Have you looked into that?
I've not looked into it too much, but there was some movie that all my coworkers were telling me to watch.
Is it Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody talks about that movie because it's sort of what everybody expects it to be, which is you live in that world. You put the goggles on or whatever, and it's like you're there.
Yeah.
And you live in a pod, and you get up to shit, and you eat, and maybe you sleep.
Well, that's interesting thing people were saying is like you can be rich in like a VR world, and then there'll be people that are rich in like just regular life.
Well, the thing is too is that there may be systems in which you can go into this world and work a job in the world and make real money.
I believe it.
That's fucking weird.
I believe it.
That's so weird. How do you feed yourself in real life by your actions in a virtual world? I don't get it. And not to mention if it's something so complex that a person needs to put on goggles and do something in the world, then wouldn't you be able to just like make a bot or an NPC do it? Like, it's very strange. It's like, are people going to become obsolete? Yeah. It's freaky, man. It's pretty wild.
Do you ever think that it could get, and this is outlandish, I guess, but do you ever think it could get to the point where we're just like completely ethereal?
What do you mean by ethereal?
Like, there's just no there's just not, we're just like on a plane. Our consciousness is like you're in a first person view without a body kind of thing.
Dude.
It's totally ethereal.
Okay. Where you're a nebulous mist.
Yeah, basically.
Gliding through. Dude, I don't know, man. Imagine if there was a technology that could do that, though.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, we can actually take you out of your body and make you ethereal. Are you in?
Are you in?
No, I'm not in. I honestly, like, I have my personal, spiritual beliefs and such about what life is and the afterlife and what I am and what the purpose of all this is. Half of that is a question. I don't know.
Did you see that movie Soul with Jamie Foxx?
I did.
That was interesting.
That was an interesting thing. That's what a lot of... that was Jamie Foxx?
I love
He
Jamie
did a good
Foxx.
job.
Yeah, he's great.
He did a really good job. Okay, I wasn't sure of that. But... yeah, very interesting concept. And I've heard, spiritual people talk about that.
Yeah.
It's like you merge into the one, where they're all like, oh, I'm finally going to integrate into the one being.
Well, I just remember, I think it was we were together with Donish on New Year's, and it was like 2019 to 2020. Was that or 2018 to 2019 maybe?
It was New Year's?
Or the day before New Year's. It was New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve.
You were in your apartment still.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
It was before New Year's. Yeah.
I remember you saying, because I was just starting my music program, and you were saying that you didn't want to like have to try and win over people anymore and try to like be in the spotlight, and that's kind of why you were still making music, but you kind of like took a more sheltered approach. You were saying.
Yeah.
And then years later, I saw you again, and then I said that kind of happened to me, and that movie made me think about it because, he was saying like, oh, music was my spark, and then there was the not the droid, but like one of the leaders of that like colony. What did they call it? Like the before Earth. There was like before Earth and after Earth, and he was saying that there was no purpose of life. All the mentors are saying there's a purpose of life, and your spark is not like the meaning of life. And I don't know. That part just really hit me because I used to think that like my meaning of life was make music, make it touch people in a positive way, and be this like person in the spotlight that is like saying great things, doing great things. And I still want to say and do great things, but I don't really care if I'm known or not. In fact, it actually kind of terrifies me being famous as a person who's like, I want to be a free entrepreneur and just travel whenever I please. And you're not going to be able to do that if you're extremely famous. Everyone's going to recognize you.
Yeah.
Now that's to say if you were actually going to make it to that level, and
which is rare.
which is rare, but like if you believe it, you can achieve it. Is kind of
hey, if that's something that is part of your path, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, like I never understood people who are like, well, that dream's too big. Because it's like, well, how do you explain all the other people that have done it? Like if someone's done it, Gary Vee says, like if someone's done it, anyone that looks like you, then that's it. Like that's the end of the story.
Yeah, and I have a belief that, it's a lot of the times you think you want it, but you don't. Like, there's something that has been planted in you that everybody, when you're a kid, you're like, yeah, I want to be rich and famous. Who wouldn't? It's like, hey, if I came up to you while you were 10 years old and I said, hey, do you want to be yourself or do you want to be rich and famous? Every kid would be like, make me rich and famous or whatever. You know? It's just sort of the thing because you watch TV, you watch movies, you watch just the whole culture and society we're in. It's like we value that, right? But
you do need to be rich, though, I think.
Well, hey, rich ain't bad. I won't say no to rich, especially if, as long as you enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Don't be rich at the expense of your purpose, because some people are a hollow shell, but they're rich.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and you really need to make sure that you're giving back that wealth. You probably won't even become wealthy if I'm always surprised of people who have become wealthy when they give nothing. Because if you think about
give
in terms
no
of
money or
just give in general,
okay.
But yeah, sure. Let's use that as the example. I mean, like if you think about the law of reciprocity, and like even biblically, it says, the more you give, the more you receive. So if I see someone who doesn't give anything and yet they become rich, it's like, what did they do? Did they like sign a deal with the devil, or how did that work?
Well, you don't give, you don't receive. Maybe what this person needs isn't money.
Yeah.
So they're getting what they think they want,
True.
what they're greedy about, but maybe because we're thinking in terms of the dollar, but you could give love and receive love. You could give hate and receive hate. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So those people, I would imagine, aren't happy.
Probably not.
Dude,
though.
giving is like the best. Like it feels so good.
Yeah.
Like
there's this app from Who, and you can donate $85, pardon me, a day to feed a starving child. They just created this app. It's called
Dude, that's amazing. That's cool.
Yeah, it's become extremely popular too.
I would hope so. Like I'm surprised there wasn't like
it's called Share the Meal.
Yeah, like an easy system where every single person on in the Western world at least could put $1 away every single day.
Yeah.
That creates millions of dollars a day if everybody did it,
If everybody did it, yeah.
Well,
it's a good idea.
Minus the children who don't have money or bank accounts.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely on board for more technological advancements for sure. I think obviously it's good you need to be in nature and everything, but I just think that technology is so important, and there's still too many people that are kind of holding back.
Yeah, do you know anybody like that? I don't know many people like that. At least young people.
I think it was harder because we're young. But if you...
the one thing I noticed is that I don't know about you, but I had computer class growing up.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't good at it, but I did it.
That was like a big part of growing up, and I forgot that like I don't know, we literally grew up being taught this stuff in schools.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool too, just like because I can remember computer class and thinking this is so fucking cool. Like these computers are so sweet. And looking back, I'm like, that was like 2003. Like those computers were trash.
Yeah,
it's funny.
And maybe it's a bias because I mean I gotta have gratitude for it because I wouldn't be able to trade if it wasn't for the way technology is right now. Like before, you'd have to go to a broker and I don't even know how you would day trade before we had this like instantaneous online. You can just place orders and execute orders, and you can see the charts in real time and everything. Like it for me, trying to go off on my own by myself, it helps a lot. For anybody, it does.
I'm watching The Wire. Do you know that show?
I've heard of it. I've heard it's like one of the best.
Dude, it's so good.
Made.
It's actually really, really, really good. But these people are like solving crimes and like they're a bunch of detectives and stuff.
Yeah.
And they just have fucking stacks of paper. And I'm like, how on earth? Like nowadays, detectives, obviously it's all in the cloud. But like, yeah, I can't imagine like solving a case with these stacks and you having to like put this paper over there and be like, like,
yeah.
So it's.
I wonder if it'd also be like beneficial to do it that way too.
I'm sure they still use paper in many occasions, like in many circumstances, but yeah, just being able to. I'm sure they also have 3 monitors. You know what I mean, and have like stuff pulled up, and they're able to. Yeah, it's interesting.
I got a question for you, actually.
Sure.
So, this podcast, happy that you're doing it because I know you were talking about it for a while.
Was I talking about it before?
Yeah. So, how's it going? How do you feel about it? What's the trajectory, kind of?
Okay, so I feel good. I actually literally last May I started this podcast.
Oh yeah.
I made 2 episodes, but they weren't the way I wanted them to be. They felt off, right? So I stopped until now. And I just want a reason, an excuse, a purpose to like literally just sit and talk with somebody, and the purpose be dialogue.
Yeah.
You know, because that's my favorite way of connecting with people. Besides that, maybe music or skateboarding or taking a walk. But I really, really like talking to people. And
me too.
The podcast is called Deep and Meaningful.
Oh, beautiful.
Do you remember when me and Danish used to talk about D&M?
No, actually.
Okay, so I don't know where that concept came from, but we were like 17. And we would gather our friends around in a corner, do mushrooms, and have a D&M. So that was us when we were teenagers. It was like, let's have a D&M. And then the new kid would be like, what the fuck is a D&M? And we're like, a deep and meaningful conversation. So we just sit and just like, you know, have one of those like, whoa, man, like, what if my hand is... Like, you know, just like one of those like, you know, stoner talks or whatever. But
it's crazy that you say that because you said talk about the mushrooms and you talk about your hand. I have a friend who took mushrooms. He looked at his hand and he saw himself as a DNA strand.
Oh, that's wild. Wow. I definitely have experienced looking at your hand, and it doesn't need to be your hand. It could be your arm, whatever.
Anything,
the hand is the most like obvious thing that you could like look into.
Just don't look in the mirror.
Don't look in the mirror, man. You could, but somebody else will look back at you. That's what happens.
Yeah.
That's what happens to me. I remember looking in the mirror, washing my hands, and I'm like, who's this asshole washing his hands in front of me? Like, who is this guy? And I realized it was myself, and I was like, oh, I need to leave now.
Yeah. Well, I just remember last time I saw you that you were talking, like you wanted to do this podcast. You already had done it, but like you even said this could have been a podcast. We should have recorded that time.
Oh, it was great. Yeah. But it's weird because, you know, with the headphones, with the microphone, with just sitting and like I feel more comfortable having a conversation like this than I would at a table. You know, it's weird.
Like as soon as I walked down here, I'm like, oh God, he wants to do it today. I didn't get much sleep last night. I don't know how it's going to go. And then as soon as we start talking, I'm like, this is fantastic.
Oh,
like,
it's easy.
It's like you put the headphones on, you're just now in this like, the rest of the world doesn't exist. It's like, it's me and you. And it's like, I'm just trying to be completely invested in your consciousness and you're trying to be completely invested in my consciousness. And it's like, it's super humble. It's nice. It's a good feeling, yeah.
And you know, like I feel a secondhand version of that when I listen to podcasts, but it is way different when you're being heard and understood and you're understanding and it's all happening at that same moment. In
case anyone does see this, sorry to interrupt, but I also should say that I am 100% not a financial advisor.
Well,
so
I know
all those questions you asked me. Like
I
like day trading is so different than investing. I couldn't tell you like how to invest. So like day trading, I have way more knowledge about trading, but that's why I prefaced what I said with what Warren Buffett said. Like Warren Buffett says, go invest in the S&P 500, so go do that.
Yeah, sometimes it's really good to get information from a student because they're the ones scouring the web for all sorts of different information. Yeah. So I almost prefer to listen to a guy who's taken notes from all the experts than one expert, because then I get a bunch of different. He has assimilated all the different information and sort of like that. I like that. I'm no expert either. I'm a student, and I have a podcast called Humble, where I just, it's more based on like personal growth, spirituality, self-help, if you want to call it that, whatever.
And is that just you, just kind of meditations of your life, just only you on the mic? Or?
Yeah, just me on the mic, just talking. And that has, I don't want to say blown up, it hasn't, but I have like hundreds of subscribers who listen and who enjoy, cool. And I've talked to people.
On YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube. And on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever it is. But that is me listening to a bunch of different spiritual teachers and authors and, people who have figured out something, and then using it in my own life and then talking about it on camera. So I'm not an expert. I didn't invent it.
Yeah.
I'm just, and people love it. And that's so, yeah, don't worry about not being a financial advisor. What you've taught me some stuff, right? Because
you got to give yourself credit too, though, because every entity that, decides to partake in something, you're perpetuating, you're innovating, because you're putting your own unique personality into it.
Yeah.
So while you didn't invent it, it's hard to invent nowadays too. Almost everything's invented. So it's like,
especially music.
Yeah.
Music's a tough one, man.
So focusing on innovation, especially considering everything's mostly the same nowadays. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and whether you like it or not, you kind of can't help having your own take on something.
Yeah.
Like if somebody teaches you how to meditate a certain way, you're going to have your own experience with it, It's like giving somebody mushrooms and trying to tell them what they're about to experience. Like,
yeah,
they will figure it out.
You know what the best part of talking to you is, though? You remember in Wayne Dyer's books, he talks about the difference of people who motivate and people who inspire. You just read Inspiration again, didn't you? You told me.
I did. Yeah.
And he talked about like the big difference between that. And like that's kind of what I get from you. Like motivation is nice, but I can just like go on TikTok and watch videos of people screaming at me to do better and like just motivational speakers.
Yeah.
But like to talk to someone, it's like, wow, this is inspiring. Because like I had been thinking about I don't know, doing maybe not necessarily a podcast, but something of the sorts. Because, like I said, I hit that wall with trading, and I don't know. I'm always ready to jump on the next thing, too. It's like as soon as I'm developed in my skills on something, I'm always just like, okay, now what's the next thing? Like I have to do next. So like I wouldn't be surprised if you see a podcast from me popping up anytime soon.
That'd be cool. Are you good with like softwares and stuff like that?
Yeah. From school.
We pretty much all are. Our whole generation almost can figure. At least if you had a computer growing up.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, then do it. 100%.
Do you market your YouTube or no?
No, I don't. I don't have social media. So I guess early on I was like in a Reddit community, but that was like a few years ago. That was probably the only time I would sort of like share it around. But now people just find it. And I'm a very quality over quantity type of person. Yeah. I haven't posted a Humble episode in months. So it gives you an idea of like, I'm not pursuing anything. I'm just like, if I've got nothing to talk about, I'll talk about nothing at all.
Yeah.
So lately I've just been working on recording an album and, doing fish stuff. I have...
your aquarium.
I have like I have like three fish tanks upstairs, and I love it. It's one of my favorite hobbies I've ever been involved in, besides like gardening and.
I remember you told me that it's really cool because you can just see what's going on underwater, and like you couldn't see that.
Dude, it's so cool. Yeah, like we're at a point in history where you can just keep a fish in your house and look at it through glass. Like it's cool. It's like,
it is.
And the biological process that takes place for them to even be able to live there to begin with is magic. Like there's a bacteria that just exists to purify the water.
Yeah. And
it takes a few weeks for that bacteria to establish itself, but once it is, anything could live in there. And if it wasn't for that little microscopic bacteria, nobody would ever have an aquarium. It wouldn't exist. So it is so cool. And I think something, like I said, like something in me, some like deep human part of me is like, wow, like that's so cool. Like our ancestors never got to see this.
Like I find cats and like the cat family, all the animals, really, really cool, especially cheetahs. I love cheetahs.
Yeah.
I love how cats, whether they're domestic or non, they just do what they want. They just do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
They have like an attitude about them, like a personality about them in that sense. I find it interesting that predators are so attractive.
Yeah.
Like they're so cool looking, and you're curious, but like this will kill you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange.
I actually, when I can, it's on the bucket list, want to go to South Africa to, you can volunteer with cheetahs there.
Oh, snap.
On a reserve type deal. It's cool, yeah.
So what do they do? Like volunteer? Like
you
taking
help
care of them?
Yeah, you help feed them, you help groom them, and yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like cheetahs they're not really that dangerous. No, cheetahs aren't going to attack you. I think there's only been like 4, I read this, so don't quote me on it, but like 4 cheetah deaths at all reported.
Deaths.
So, yeah.
I didn't talk about losing an arm. 4 of them died. Yeah, no, that, so it would probably be like tigers or something. Have you seen the Tiger King? Have you seen that show?
I have not seen it yet.
Me neither. You should watch it if you're into cats. I don't know. Like I heard it's like this guy who keeps cats.
And I don't mean like 4 reported deaths at the volunteer reserve. I just mean like in general.
In history.
There's not really.
Yeah.
They're not big either. So like they see a bipedal human, I don't think they're gonna
Interesting.
go after you.
I don't know why I always think of cheetahs like they're these big puma looking cats, like these massive.
I guess if you compare it to like
a house cat,
or even a lynx, they're big.
Yeah.
But they're definitely not the size of like a lion or a tiger.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a cat?
I don't. My girlfriend and I were thinking about getting one, but we still live separately. So we decided to wait.
Yeah.
All these things that I want to do, but you know, like that's why I hold the belief that money is important. It's not all of life 100%, and you could go down a really bad path if you start thinking about it that way, but you need to recognize that anything you want to do, it's going to cost money.
You know, I did remember that quote. I may have said it last time we were together, but it was from Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl said, pleasure is and must remain a side effect or byproduct, and is destroyed and spoiled to the degree to which it is made a goal itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I think of that same context as money too. Like money shouldn't be the goal itself. You should find it should be a byproduct of something, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if people love playing the game of money, maybe that's your game, right? But for me, I don't care about money that much. It needs to be a byproduct of something I enjoy.
Yeah.
Right? Or something that I at least find meaning in. Like I just pushed snow, like shoveling fucking driveways and walkways and stuff. Most people find it an arduous job, but like I do it and I love it. Yeah. I find meaning in it because there are a lot of old people in Chatham who can't do it.
Yeah.
So I just like it's nice to be one of those people who are just like helping out the community in that sense.
Yeah.
And money becomes a byproduct. I don't even think about the paycheck. I just like being a part of winter in that sense in my community. So more things like that for me. Would you say you're that kind of person, or are you like you see money as like a game that you can unlock and figure out? And
kind of not so much so money, but more like the trading system was definitely like as soon as I saw the Japanese candlestick charts, I was like, I've got to figure this out. I don't know what it was. Something just clicked. I could already tell, even with no experience, that it was something you could definitely patternize, and it could be really financially rewarding if you could figure it out.
So that became like a game.
Yeah, yeah. And then, I mean, I have gone through periods where I've cared too much about money, and it doesn't last long, though, because you get super stressed out. Yeah. And you just, you forget about everything. Like, I've got a great family. I've got great friends. Like, yeah, I've got a great girlfriend. So it's like, you know, I don't know how much more you really want. I got health, too. That's a really big thing.
That's a big one. Money can't buy that. I mean, in many ways, it cannot buy.
No.
Health.
And just really the only like my whole end game here with it is I want to be an entrepreneur, so I don't have to be on anyone else's schedule, and I can go with my girlfriend and we can go travel. I just find like the beauty of Earth is nuts. Like I can't even put into words. I just want to see all of it. So I'm really just trying to back up these claims with as much action as I can, because that's all you really can do, right?
Hey, remember when I was saying I was manifesting that fish tank or whatever. Do you remember me saying that?
I think so, yeah.
Dude, I manifested it. Like, I fucking have it. It's in my room right now.
That's awesome.
I'll show you after the podcast. But, dude, it, like, happened. Very, very strange. So, late November, I'm listening to different teachings. There's this guy named Neville Goddard from, like, the... maybe like the 40s, 50s, 60s. He was doing lectures, and he would look at the Bible and talk about all the different, like, what do you call it? All the different examples of manifestation and teachings of, like, law of attraction is what they call it now, which I don't like that term because most people don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't talk about it, because I don't fucking know, man. But so I'm listening to it, and it's like, you have to live in the end. You have to feel like you have it. You got to shut your eyes and just, like, see what you want as if it's here now. And don't fucking care whether it's there when you open your eyes. Just enjoy that feeling and just bathe in that feeling and enjoy it. And be specific about it, whatever. It could be literally anything. The first thing I thought of was, oh, man, I want a big fish tank. So,
that's all right.
Hey, whatever, man. I love it. So... literally, like, every day in my meditation, I'd be there. Every morning, I'd be there. Any chance I remembered to be there, I would be there. And then, for Christmas, I get, my grandmother passed in late September. And she'd left like $75 for all her great-grandchildren, $300 for all her grandchildren, and $30,000 for all her kids. So she, like, had a plan. And so I get this $300, and I'm like, oh man, this could be the beginning. Like, maybe I can afford this tank. So I'm starting to look online for a tank or whatever. And then I find something, and it's like, oh fuck, this is over budget. But I'm like, maybe and I got in touch with another fish guy. There are many of them in Chatham, but there's a fish guy. Like, this guy, ooh, maybe I'll get him on the podcast one day. We'll just talk about fish.
Like, how do you find him?
My girlfriend's dad is friends with him. So we connected, and then I sent him this Kijiji ad. I'm like, hey, this is over budget, but what do you think? Like, should I try and get this tank? And he's like, dude, come over tomorrow. I have an idea for you. So I come over, and he's got a tank for me. With a filter, with a heater, with everything, with a light and stuff like that, with a stand. And he helps me move it. The tank I sent to him was in Windsor. So I would have to, like, get a van or something and drive there. But he got it. He helped me put it in his truck, and we got it, and I bought this tank. And then I just realized, I was like, oh, it, like, happened. And it happened effortlessly. And a lot of people would say, oh, well, that's a coincidence, like, whatever. It's something you wanted, so you took action to go get it, sure. But the way things lined up was nice. Like, I got the money for it. I knew this guy. He had a truck. He had these weird, like, suction cup things. The fucking tank was heavy. And he had these, like, industrial, like, window pane suction cups that attached to the side of it, and it was wild. And he helped me move it, and I just got it, and it was like, okay, cool. And, yeah, I'm not fulfilled.
You need more fish.
And no, it's never enough. It's never enough. And that's the joke about it, man. So be careful with desire, you know? So when you were talking about, like, oh, I want to travel and all these things, good. And I think you should do it. And I think you should shut your eyes each morning and get familiar with that feeling.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny too? Is even while I was visualizing and sort of like putting myself in the future where, oh, I have this tank, I would say to myself, I have this tank, but I realize it's not enough. And that it will never be enough. And I'm grateful for what I have. I count my blessings each day. And that's that. On to the next one. And that's exactly how I ended up feeling. Good, great, but not in the trap where I'm like, I feel empty after. I'm you know, yeah. I don't know. Anytime anybody talks about desire or what they want to experience, I'm always like, Dude, like, there is an aspect, I think, where you can influence the world around you in a weird way, in a very strange way.
You're influencing me very well right now.
Yeah, like where you're connected to something that you don't realize that you're connected to. And you know what the guy said? He said this and it blew me away because I was like, that's exactly how I feel every time I manifest something. He said, when it happens, that thing that you visualized, the thing that you wanted to happen, it will happen so perfectly that it will seem like it was already gonna happen and it had nothing to do with, visualizing and doing these practices. It would
nothing to do with you exerting the pressure.
It would appear like a coincidence.
Yeah.
Because that's how perfect this universe is. It appears like a coincidence. It appears like, oh, well, this was already going to happen. That's how perfect the manifestation process is. Mm-hmm. So that could be a cop-out. Or it could be the truth. Who fucking knows? All I know is I have the fucking tank. I'm not hurt financially. Everything worked out perfectly. So, yeah.
Yeah, people say, they're like, well, maybe that's just the placebo effect. I'm like, yeah, but we've already proven that the placebo effect is so powerful. So, like, what does it matter if it's like the placebo effect or if it's an actual thing? As long as it's getting done.
That's so funny to me that people would use that as an example because the placebo effect is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
But they'll say, oh, that's just the placebo effect. I'm like, just? What do you mean? Like, there are people who, like there was this guy who he drowned when he was a kid. Like he almost drowned to death. So he was terrified of water. And anytime water would touch his arm, he'd break out in hives. That's a placebo type of thing, right? That's fucking powerful. What do you mean? That's so cool. Sucks for the guy, but like that's cool. So yeah, it's funny when people use things like that as a put down. I'm like, dude, you're lifting it up.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Yeah. Have you had any experience with that? Like with deliberately trying to like attract something into your life?
Yeah. I did a lot when I was trying to get promotions for my music. I would just kind of like visualize myself on stage and stuff, and didn't make it to like a big stage yet, but I was actually really surprised with how many of my songs got like picked up, however small, by like a promoter, even though like it was my third song. It was only like my third original song got put on a Spotify playlist. I almost hit 10,000. It's not there anymore. It's one of those things where if you do something a lot, it's really hard to recall. It's like someone's like, recall something. I've done it so many times. I can't recall. I honestly think, I was talking about this with a friend of mine, that a lot of it is you literally internalize it. So it's like you at one point you're like actively focusing on, let's stick with manifesting, and then after a while it just becomes like a second nature. Like you don't even know it, but your subconscious mind constantly has that programming where it's just manifesting your desires all the time on autopilot. Mm-hmm. And so if you asked me maybe like 2 years ago when I started to get into all these things, I probably could pinpoint like, oh yeah, I did it to do this, I did it to do that, and now I'm like, it's like I'm just always doing it passively. I think.
Yeah. It has to be something I really want for me to like actually go out of my way to like visualize, because I don't want a lot of things.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I'm not one of those people who like I can make a huge list of things that I want, but do I want them badly? Not really.
Yeah.
So I think that you have to have like a strong desire for you to go out of your way. But I could name a bazillion things that I deliberately visualized and then came true. Was it a coincidence? Maybe.
Well, it's all tied to belief. Like that's something belief is something I've been thinking about so much, because I'm not gonna lie that my dreams, if they go unfulfilled, I'm terrified of that happening. Like that's my biggest fear. It kept me up last night. It keeps me up lots of nights. But I just really think that, as crazy as it sounds, I almost feel like it's kind of normal for that to happen. I've never heard of a story of someone who like accomplished everything that they wanted to do. They reached everything they wanted to reach, and it was easy. It's never easy. And I mean, like 90% of traders lose money or more. So you're already having the odds stacked against you a lot.
It's rough.
Yeah. But I love doing it, and it requires no other entity. It's just you and the computer and the charts and everything. And like giving up's not an option.
Yeah.
So I've just been, as much as I have the doubts, constantly trying to believe as much as I can, just not letting myself get rattled.
What that fear that keeps you up at night? That's rough, man. Like, that doesn't sound good.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Do you think this fear is like a motivating factor?
Yeah, it definitely is. Because, I mean, it's not every night. It comes in waves. You know, there'll be like weeks where I'm fine, and then just like this week kind of hit me. I'm like, oh man, like, what if I don't travel? And yeah.
The thing about it kind of seems, because I get that, it kind of seems like you're heading towards something, and if you fuck it up, there's no going back.
Yeah.
Like, it's coming at you. Like, time is passing by, and the end of your life gets closer and closer, and the time you have to achieve your goals gets shorter and shorter.
Mm-hmm.
And that process, when you're like, oh fuck, the walls are closing in.
I think honestly though, that frame of mind is the best thing you can do for yourself. I think you just gotta back yourself into a corner, and you just say to yourself, I'm going to either, like, I'm gonna die in this corner, or I'm going to find my way out.
Mm-hmm.
And
dude, it's so hard for me to balance shit though. Like, have you heard of the Tao Te Ching,
mm-hmm.
the ancient Chinese text?
Yeah.
Dude, they talk about doing nothing. Like, do nothing, leave nothing undone.
I've tried it both ways too.
There was one where it ended with the guy saying, when the work is done, it is forgotten. That's why it lasts forever. I'm like, what does that mean? What do you mean? And like, just the idea of like, of like drifting and not in the hustle and bustle, and being free from all your cares, and not putting a high what's the word, man? I'd have to get the book. There's like a bunch of like of those things where you just let go and live free, and take sustenance from God or the Tao or whatever you want to call that source or whatever. But
yeah.
and how, you know, the people who rush around to get things done are missing something.
Yeah, and I've definitely lived it both ways, and I'm trying to find the balance right now. Because
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I think both are just extremes. It's like the spiritual teachings say do nothing, and then you'll see these like people like Elon Musk, who's great, but like they're just constantly this thing constantly running around, never a second of rest, always trying to get to the next step. And when you do miss, because you're all in the future, all of your entire fiber of your being is completely based in the future. So as we were just talking about, like, you've got nothing in the present, you're missing everything around you right now. But I also think that if you just kind of ascribe to this life of like, I'm gonna do nothing, I felt honestly kind of empty when I tried doing that. So I'm trying to find the balance right now of like, you just got to know when to pick your battles. It's like, now is the time to take extreme action, and now is the time to just breathe.
See, I like to venture into that emptiness that you talked about.
I do, but I don't like to
what
stay
is that?
there.
So what does that tell you though? Because for me, the way I think of it is, I think the whole do nothing thing, I think that is, what do you call it? Misunderstood. I think that is misunderstood just a bit. Because I don't think it means do nothing. I think it means whether you like it or not, it will be done. Kind of like me as a vegan. I'm not doing it. It's just done. Like, that's what I am.
Yeah.
There's no question. There's no conversation. There's no thought. It's just happening. Me breathing. I'm not doing it, but it's being done. Things like that, where it's like you integrate it into your being, and then it's not effort. It just happens.
It's true.
But I like to venture into that emptiness, because if I sit here and I'm like ready to have a productive day, but I stop and I do nothing, and then I start to feel like shit, it sort of just tells me like I'm not happy, or I'm not, there's something. It's like by rushing around and getting shit done, I'm trying to like fill this emptiness. You know, that's what I learned with meditation, is when you sit there, a lot of the times it doesn't feel good, but that feeling of not feeling good is what you've been hiding from by doing shit. by filling up your schedule.
It's
right?
true.
In a sense. And I think it's important to like have that balance. By doing nothing, you're good. And then you go. It's kind of like
you need to be calm doing both.
Yeah, doing both. Exactly. You're not stressed while you're doing a bunch of shit, and you're not overly like bored and you feel meaningless and you feel worthless while doing nothing.
And that's the Viktor Frankl quote. It's like you can't be doing it to fill the void, and you can't be doing it to try to have like some kind of monetary gain, like strictly monetary. There has to be like, you have to enjoy what you're doing, but you shouldn't be like asking yourself, do I enjoy this? You just know when you're doing it, right? Like, it's not really a question. You just feel it, and it feels very fluid.
Yeah, a purpose is like innate. It's like it's like it's so it's like a current. Like, it's just happening. It's not. I don't think you can like fabricate meaning. I think you chip away at it. I think you find it.
Here's one side to the coin, though. Do you know Jordan Peterson?
Oh, yeah.
So one of my favorite videos I've ever seen of him in a lecture is he was saying that the meaning of life is responsibility. So if you want to give your life meaning, you have to pick a load up and carry it, is what he said. And I just think that
that's true.
If I have a vast wealth, and you can really solve a lot of problems. You can be very philanthropic with the wealth. All I wanted for is just to travel. It's like there's going to be tons left over that I don't need. It's kind of like somebody once said to me, is like, they were like, I think you're like too empathic. You give too much of yourself away. I was like, that's impossible, because if your bucket's overflowing and it's reciprocity, if you're giving, it's going to come back in whatever form that you sent it out as. Mm-hmm. So I just don't really think that if you're giving that you can that it can be unhealthy. Mm-hmm. Well, it can be unhealthy, but you need to go to like a real extreme of it for it to be unhealthy. Like, most of the time, vast majority of the time, giving is always a good thing. And I kind of just wanted to heed his advice and take responsibility for becoming wealthy, so that whatever problem that you see in the world, you can help fix it, which totally goes against what the Tao says. The Tao says, and Rumi, the poet, says, you don't need to take action. The world is going to fix itself. The best way to change the world is to change yourself. I just think that both are true.
Well, I think I agree. But I also...
It's loaded.
It's all fucking... We're all just having fun with thought. We're having fun with ideas. I don't fucking know. But in the Tao, they talk about... what was it? It was like, do you think you could take over the universe and change it? I do not believe it can be done. I'm going to look up that exact quote, actually, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah. No, I actually, when you were... Because I read Wayne Dyer's version.
Yeah, and he took a bunch of different translations. Tao. Let's find it. There it is, chapter 29. Do you think you could take over the universe and improve it? I do not believe it can be done. The universe is sacred. You cannot improve it. If you try to change it, you will ruin it. If you try to hold it, you will lose it. So sometimes things are ahead and sometimes they are behind. Sometimes breathing is hard. Sometimes it comes easily. Sometimes there is strength and sometimes there is weakness. Sometimes one is up and sometimes down. Therefore, the sage avoids extremes, excesses, and complacency. So it's a one version of the translation. And when I read that, man, I think like the universe is sacred. You cannot improve it. If you try to change it, you will ruin it. Basically what that means is yin and yang, you have no say in that matter. That you can make things better, I guess. You can help people's lives, and I strive to do that. I just strive to make the world a better place, 100%. But if you do it with the intention of, I'm going to take this world and I'm going to throw away the yang and keep the yin, it's like you're going against the nature of things. You know, the sacred sort of nature of things. So I think empathy is good, but it has that like sort of false pretense where it makes you feel like, the bad shouldn't exist. And it's like, dude, we can't answer that question, why it exists, why it's here, you know?
Yeah, and I would never like strive for something as ridiculous as trying to abolish all the bad.
And that's, I think, the problem with people who are so into like utopia. It's like, if you're, it's like the more, have you noticed, at least in history, from what I've heard, I'm really dumb when it comes to history, man. I've not read a history book ever in my adult life, but I've heard people talk about how this idea of utopia makes things worse.
I'm sure it does, yeah, because it's unnatural.
Well, the idea like of socialism, how it becomes a problem because it's a utopian idea, but then
I think socialism's led to the death of like 600 million people.
That's what I mean. So it's literally, people think of it like it's a utopia where everybody will be, live in an equal way or whatever, but then it just literally becomes the opposite. Try to fix the universe, you ruin it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's honestly, it's a confliction I kind of have. It's a question I'm asking myself, like, do you really need to go out and try and do anything? Or, it's like a great thing to do is if you really want to help people, like, you have your friends, you have your family, help those people too, like people that are directly involved in your life. I think
it's the same idea of, if you have $10 now, donate $1.
Yeah.
Instead of like waiting.
Yeah.
Like I've donated recently. And I'm freaking just getting by. But that's a really important concept. Like if you can't, like you said, help the people now.
Yeah.
And that's the same idea. It's like, don't wait until one day. Okay, one day I'll help people once I'm back on my feet. I think.
Did you ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
No.
His mentor, when he was losing money, would donate more. He would donate more money the more he was losing.
Dang, dude. That's courage right there, man.
Yeah, because the reciprocity.
Yeah, and I believe that. I really do. I've noticed actually that, and you can believe me or not believe me, sure, but there was somebody close to me, a close friend, and I was in a rough place, so I would judge this person, just like raw judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And I would notice instantly there's like this tension between us, and it would, fizzle and spiral into drama. It would just become, it was just like a dramatic friendship. And then one day I took a lot of acid and it was terrible. I had a terrible time, but I came out of it not wanting to judge anybody. It's like, I'm done holding that burden because it only hurts me.
Yeah, it's true.
I felt that. And then like instantly, like a light went on and there was no tension between us. Like instantly. It was so strange. It was like there's a storm and you wake up and it's gone and everything's just still. Like very, very strange. So I think reciprocity works in that respect as well. And I can't prove that. There are no studies you can conduct to prove something like that. It just happened to me. Very strange. Do you what's your opinion on like having sort of out there beliefs and not having any proof for it? Like like science doesn't back these things.
Oh yeah.
Science doesn't back the Tao and any other spiritual text or whatever.
Well, it's funny because just a little while ago you were like, oh, these are all just ideas. They're all just thoughts and stuff. And I mean, like, do you ever feel like if somebody asks you, you could just boil your life down to one thing? Because I feel like if you ask me, it's like, what's your life about? It's like, I just think that the world is beautiful. I want to go see it. And this is what I have to do to go see it. The end. Like, there's really like nothing.
Dude, that's funny you say that because yesterday my brother was on here and he said, if you boil it down, I love to explore. And that was his thing. Like, I want to explore music. Adventure. I want to explore the guitar. I want to explore my fiance. I want to explore this country, whatever. Like, he's like, that's how he boiled it down to. And it's funny hearing you say, oh, if you could boil it down.
I would use the word, for me personally, I'd use the word adventure. Like, I just want adventure.
Yeah. Were you like that when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how like the child in you comes back when you're an adult.
Yeah. I have one friend who just is like, he's so into that like adventure archetype that it just comes out in the smallest things. So if I'm around him, it feels great because like just the slightest thing is an adventure.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to like pinpoint an example. But like he's like would just turn this way and look at the moon. That's an adventure. Like
for people who are truly present, like I get it.
Yeah.
Like if you're present, dude, you could wash the dishes and it'd be an adventure.
Yeah.
You can cook a meal, and I love cooking too, by the way. Do you like cooking?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember you saying you like cooking.
I like making pizza a lot too.
You've been making pizza
calzone
with the dough, like fresh dough?
Yeah, I make like all of it. Not I use I gotta find something else though to use in place of vegan cheese. It's not good stuff.
What stuff are you eating, vegan cheese wise?
Well, there's like Dea's one brand. There's Violife. It's not
Dea ain't great.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know
good.
what that other one is, but yeah, it's so hard to come by, dude.
You can't. That's something that you can't replace. I don't think. Because
I think you can. I've had it, dude. Have you had good vegan cheese?
No.
Ever?
No.
Dude, you got to go to London. There's this place. It's called V Food Spot. Used to be in a laundromat, which is hilarious. It was like this little takeout joint, like in a fucking laundromat. But now they have their own building, and they make food. But like, get something there with cheese, because I'm telling you.
And does it melt right? Because that's like the texture is the one thing that's super different. Like it melts so differently. The texture is so different than regular cheese.
Yeah, you could find some good brands too for that.
Okay.
I've had it. We just don't get it here.
Yeah,
we don't. Honestly, there's a stuff called Nuts for Cheese. Have you ever tried that?
No.
They sell it at fucking Sobeys for like $14 for this little thing. Don't buy it. Not worth it, man. Sobeys is like that place where rich people like to go because they like to brag that they buy from Sobeys. They're like, yeah, I spent the extra $1. Yeah. I shop there.
That's Sobeys. They do have a very nice bakery section though.
They do,
like
but it's
the
like
bread section.
Their peanut butter is like double the price. Like same peanut butter. It's like, what do you? I don't know. But anyways, that fucking cheese, man. You gotta go try it. Do you go to London often? You used to live there.
I used to live there. Yeah, I didn't go to that spot though.
Damn, it's a great spot. It's a weird name, V Food Spot. It's a weird name, but
I gotta say,
it's good.
Like, I love being plant-based mostly just for the ethical reasons of the animals, and I don't even know if I want to call it like ethical. So I went to this Greenview aviary.
The zoo.
Yeah, I went to the zoo over there, and at the time, it was my first time going since I was like a kid, and I was vegan. And I remember just when I was seeing all these animals, it was the first time being vegan and that I had like been around a ton of animals other than just like people's house animals.
I guess so, yeah.
And there's this like feeling, this relationship was so much more potent because there was I think he was a cardiologist. He said, now that I don't eat you, I can look upon you with peace. And that was how he like boiled down veganism. And that's just how I felt. And then I remember I had told you that I decided to like, what the hey, have some turkey on Thanksgiving. Went back to the zoo on the last day, but like before it closed. Totally different. Like I was looking at these animals, I was like, this sucks because I know that I'm like, there was a turkey. I'm like, I just ate one of them.
Oh, that's so weird.
And so I was like, no, I'm not doing it again.
I get it though. That's like something that I think meat eaters, not to like lump people into a group or whatever.
Yeah, just preface it like I don't care if you eat.
But yeah,
whatever you
I
eat.
think it is something that you don't realize until you are vegan, because I see it as like a weird, like, fuck, if I could put it into words, man. Like we're all brothers and sisters.
It's very spiritual.
It's so hard to, yeah, like when I look at the eyeball as an example, like we all have like very similar eyes. The reptiles can fuck off. They don't have similar eyes.
No.
They have these weird like these weird eyes. I love reptiles, I'm joking, but when you look at things and you're like, you feel this like kinship. We're like, oh, we have the same mother. Like we have the same thing created us all. We're part of the same tree, whatever. I see it and I'm like, whoa, like we're all earthlings. And, you know, people make the argument of like, oh, you're eating plants, they feel or whatever. I don't know. Like if you're on Earth, you have to eat other life to survive. That's the weird thing about planet Earth. That's just how it is. We eat life to keep ourselves alive. But yeah, when you just look at other animals, it's this weird like spiritual experience. I've noticed that. I love it. It's nice.
Yeah, that's honestly like I love plant-based food too, but that's the bulk of it.
Is that at like the moral sort of aspect of it for you?
I mean, I've always loved animals, but
Mm-hmm.
it just, yeah, it heightened it so much. And I remember I did a mushroom trip, and I was tripping, and then this, like my own voice, my own higher self, I guess you could say, just came to me. It's like, you got to do plant-based. At the time, I laughed because I was paleo. You eat a lot of meat, and
True.
I was like,
yeah.
What? And then, hey, check it out. There's one right here.
Oh, that's Gherkin. Gherkin the kitty. That's funny.
Your white one too.
Gherkin, Valgar.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, even just looking at them,
They're vibing. They love their life, man. They're so happy.
I love cats.
And they make me happy. Yeah, it was never really, like, when it comes to being vegan, it was never really, like, a question for me. Like, it happened. Like, I first got into it, like, March 2015, I think. And it happened overnight. And I think I ate fish for a little while. Can't remember. I think I was eating fish because I love sushi or whatever. But then I was like, and then I took it a step further, and then I've been vegan ever since. But I don't miss the flavors, like, at all. I honestly don't. Mostly because I cook good. My girlfriend cooks really good, and we do go to V Food Spot. We just went last Saturday. We're going again this Saturday.
Your pumpkin curry was good.
Oh yeah,
like lentil curry is probably my favorite food.
Lentil, yeah, that's what she makes. She makes this
homemade naan. Yeah,
homemade naan, dude. How do you do that?
Probably my favorite thing to make is anything bread related.
I fucking love bread.
I love bread. Man.
It's a problem, but I love it. It's like not good for you, but
well, you can make it gluten free, and then I think you're set. But
yeah, but gluten's fucking good.
It's good, and
can't replace wheat.
It's tough to make that stuff with it because you need something to make it hold. So I think they use like xanthan gum in gluten free. That makes it hold.
Yeah. But it's weird. Gluten free shit's like powdery. I've had it. And it's like,
yeah,
kind of like melts in your mouth in a weird way.
There's you know what I do love though? I do love rice noodles. Like I haven't
rice
honestly been eating like any, and actually there's in the superstore, you can find it in the health section. There's a brand, I forget what they call them. They have like all the different types of pasta. It's brown rice noodles, and so it's like you can just make it. Texture is a little different, but I'm not a
starchy too. But
yeah,
it comes out okay.
I love rice noodles. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it at Bulk Run.
Oh yeah, exactly. Or chickpea noodles.
I get the shells, man. I love the shells.
Shells are good. I
have this like weird like moment with myself. I've never said this out loud. It's not that weird. I'm like building it up like this. It's this strange thing. But I'll make a pad thai with the shells, and there'll be like peas and corn and stuff. And it's always a good moment when the pea is like in the shell.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that's treasure.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's like clam, a pearl.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna eat after this. I'm so excited. But what's your like favorite recipe that you're making?
I like making calzones. Calzone is basically just like a pizza that's been folded up on itself. So the pizza's inside. It's like a hot pocket, but it's homemade and it's better.
But a big
or you can make a panzerotti, which is like you deep fry the dough. So not as healthy, but it's good stuff.
Panzerottis are freaking good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to get into that more. I used to, dude, when I first went vegan, I made a pizza every morning.
Yeah.
I fucking ate a whole pizza to myself, like dough from scratch.
Me too.
Every morning.
Me too. Yeah, for like 3 months
because it's
straight.
pretty easy.
Yeah,
it fills you the fuck up.
It's not that expensive either.
No,
you get
flour,
the toppings and stuff.
All-purpose flour is nothing, and then all you need is tomato sauce and cheese, and then you can add other shit. But,
do you make your own tomato sauce too?
No. My mom she kind of makes like we can tomatoes, make spaghetti sauce sometimes, but not pizza sauce. So
like actually I got a cookbook. I keep blanking on all authors' names through this whole podcast, but it's funny because he says that he actually always uses canned tomatoes instead of like getting like homemade like tomatoes out of the garden and stuff like that. I forget why he said that it was better for the sauce, but for people listening,
weird,
canned tomatoes, like high quality canned tomatoes though.
And that's like do you just put the tomatoes on the pizza, or do you make a sauce out of that?
No, you make a sauce.
Okay,
out of it,
okay.
You use like whole peeled tomatoes, and you crush them and everything. Yep.
Interesting. I would do that with fresh basil, because isn't that like the main ingredient of pizza sauce?
Pesto's another thing I love making too.
Pesto. Do you make that from scratch, or?
Yeah.
Dude, I've never done that.
It's a good one.
I have a grow room back there. That's why it's so bright in that room. I haven't planted any seeds yet. I just have like ferns and stuff I'm keeping alive, because they will not survive by a window. They need like, I don't know, they're struggling. We don't have a lot of good windows in this house. But yeah, I'm going to plant like so much basil, and I'm going to make some pesto with that. That's going to be good.
There was, before I forget, kind of diverting back to a conversation we were having earlier, last time I was here actually, when you were saying, you were like, oh, I want to change the world. And then you ask yourself, but why? And then I actually kind of started to think about you saying that. And I was asking myself, but why not? Like, are they both reasonably good questions? Like, why do you want to change the world? It's like, well, why don't you want to change the world? Or why don't you think that you can change the world?
Yeah, I think, in what context was I saying
that? You were saying you wanted to be philanthropic with your money.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, and for sure I do. Yeah, like there was have you heard about the truckers in Canada? Like there's like this huge convoy going to Ottawa right now. Have you heard about that?
No.
Well, I went to go donate to their GoFundMe because I support the cause, but they didn't have PayPal. But as an example, yes, I love donating. And I love being philanthropic. What was your question?
Why not? Like you were saying, why would you change the world? It's like, I feel like I want to change the world, but why? And then I was asking, it's like, well, but why not?
Yeah. I think maybe it's like a part of us, or at least because everybody's different, right?
Yeah.
Somebody might be born and they're not like born with this feeling like they want to change the world. Some people are born with that feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm one of those people who, I don't feel like I feel worthy of existing, sure, but I really feel like I've lived if I've changed somebody's life or changed the world for the better.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like as an example, having 3 cats is like an uplifting experience, because one of them came from a shed, another came from a shelter, and then another came from a farm. And like these cats, they're fully vaccinated. They have no worms anymore. They're all fixed. They're happy. They live in a warm house. I feel like good. Like my life has a lot more meaning now. Just having that, having fish, whatever. So yeah, I think changing the world is just a step above. It's like if I could really make waves for the better, like that, man, that's so meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And some people find their meaning in something really small. And when I say change the world, I mean like when I was shoveling snow, I felt like I was a part of something.
Oh, yeah, the smallest increment.
Yeah.
Just it compounds.
Yeah. Do you have like anything like that? Because I know you're stock trading. You have like you want to travel and stuff like that. What about the world do you think that you can sort of change? Well, I guess you want to do it with money, right?
In my a lot of ways, honestly. Yeah. But in my immediate experience, like I was talking about, like to help the people in your circle and everything. Don't forget your circle in favor of like the masses. I really just I'm like always trying to propel my girlfriend's experience towards what she wants to do. Just trying to be as supportive as possible for that. That's like the number one thing I feel like fulfills me on a daily basis. Just always remaining impartial. It's like whatever your significant other wants to do, you just stand behind them. And like you may not understand it. I mean, honestly, like her and I are pretty similar, so I understand where she's coming from. That part's easy. But and just know them and know what they need, because like if you're like if you have a partner, you're gonna have to sometimes say things that they don't want to hear. But if you're reasonable with each other, you listen and you realize they're right, and then it helps them. And especially if they're trying to do something big, you just can't let them quit. That's something I really want to do for people, and I'm doing that with my friends too. Or like I'm always trying to like attentively listen to everything you're saying, because I mean, I believe in you. So like I'm trying to, like, you already believe in yourself, but if I can add to that, so just like little things like that in your immediate circle. But I would say, like, outwardly in the world, the number one thing, I would really like to somehow get it across to people that you don't suck. Like, if you think you suck, you don't suck.
So have you had experience with that before?
Yeah.
So I get it. So like when you've been there, you're like, you look at somebody else doing that and you're like, dude.
Yeah. The lack of self-worth is so alarming. And also what's more alarming is that it's usually onset by somebody else. Like, it wasn't even their fault. I think like if you're a person who takes great accountability, you're 95% ahead of everybody else. Congratulations. But there's just some things that are genuinely were not your fault. And if everybody was excelling and they were doing something that really filled them up inside, any small way I could be a part of that, because I don't think I've ever met somebody who didn't have positive qualities that were not immediately recognizable, like ever. Even somebody that like you don't really get along with, rubs you the wrong way, you can still see the light in a sense. So I think that's my number one thing.
You know what I think a big problem is as well? Insecurity is part of it.
Yeah.
But we all hide that part of ourselves we don't want anybody to see.
Yeah.
And so if everybody's hiding it, nobody knows about it.
True.
And so everybody just shits on themselves in the dark and never lets that part of themselves shine, because it's vulnerable.
That's
it's
a good
scary.
insight. Yeah.
And also it gets shamed. So it's like,
by most people.
Yeah, it's funny like how, and what better way to hide your shit than to cancel somebody else, for an example. You know, like it's the best way to sort of distract myself from my shit, is to shit on somebody else for theirs. And it just creates this really rough cycle where I was talking to my brother about this yesterday too, but like, do you know Carl Jung?
Yeah.
And the shadow, like the whole concept. Yeah. So like that idea, it's like everybody has a shadow, but because no one talks about it, nobody thinks anybody else has a shadow. You think you're the bad one. It's like, if you knew the darkness in others, you'd be like, oh, I'm fucking normal.
Yeah.
Like, I love that feeling. You ever had that feeling where like, you're guilty about something and then somebody tries to make you feel better by talking about something they're guilty about?
And it lines up.
And you're like, oh,
yeah,
you did that too? Shit. Okay. I'm not a bad person. I'm not like flawed in a sense. Because, for an example, if we all had the same flaw, that flaw would cease to exist.
Yeah.
We wouldn't point it out. Like, nobody can fly. That's not a flaw.
Yeah.
We don't have wings. So, but if you think you're the only one who can't fly, you're like, oh, well, fuck.
Maybe in the metaverse.
There's something wrong with me. Maybe in the metaverse. Maybe, yeah. But so I think it has that effect where, because you're the only one aware of your shadow and you don't see anybody else's, it really magnifies your shadow and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm terrible.
Yeah. And you know what else I think is, it can be hard for people, is if you, like you and I were sitting here and we're not like extremely known gentlemen, but we have like the passion, the heart behind it. I think for some people it's hard for them to conceive of climbing. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, well, I'm so small, no one knows me. Like, what impact could I create? Or like, why would anyone listen to what I say? It's like, you know, I'm talking, it's like, oh, you're going to be like a trader, you're going to be like a billionaire and all this stuff, and you're going to travel. It's like, yeah, but you know, you have $3,000 to your name and you live with your parents. It's like, but yeah, it's like, but what people got to understand is like, everybody started in a similar situation. No one started at the top. Everyone started from ground floor.
Some people did, but they carry it generationally.
True.
But it's true that there is such a thing as a self-made billionaire from ground zero.
Yeah, and those are the best stories. No one cares about the people who like had to hand it to them.
No.
You know, the best stories are people, and like me, like I grew up upper middle class. I haven't had it hard. I love the stories of that, just flip in polarity. The lower they came and the higher they rose. It's awesome. And those are the inspirational people, not like the people who, got it as a graduation present or something like that.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it really does take a lot of courage to have no reason to think that you can do it. Like, like,
and that's what I was saying before about belief.
Yeah.
It's like it's the only thing that's going to keep your head afloat when you're going after whatever you're going after.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I'd like to get across too. It's like, go look at the best stories. All the best stories are people who started from ground floor, even sub-zero.
Yeah. How do you feel about, like, did you ever have that feeling when you're making music where it's the idea that there's so much competition out there? Like, there's new music, millions and millions of fucking new songs. Well, like, here I am, like, working on mine, and I'm just one guy. And it's like, you ever had that feeling?
Here's a positive spin on it, though. It's like, saturation, I think, honestly, is a good thing, not a bad thing. Because if you're genuinely making something that sticks out, it's going to be so much easier to stick out, because, like, people are listening to, like, oh, crap. And then suddenly, whoa, what is this? It just, like, it invigorates that feeling that they have. It just magnifies it.
It's a good point, because if you're sitting beside a, like, if it's less saturated, then you will be compared
to everything,
to all the greats. There's like a bunch of great fucking songs. There aren't a lot. Yeah, it's a good point. When it's saturated, when you're on a playlist with a bunch of shitty songs and then yours comes up, somebody's gonna be like, oh, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
or whatever.
Another thing, like, keep in mind, like, we always talk, everybody always talks about, like, well, so many people fail, it's so hard to, like, get to achieve what you're trying to achieve. It's like, well, keep in mind what level of effort was put into all those failures. That's something you got to ask yourself. It's like, if you gave up, immediately you lost. Or if you half-assed it, immediately you're going to lose. Like, so what caliber of effort was put into I think the 90% of traders that failed, and they're like, well, you have like a 10% shot. It's like, yeah, well, what level of effort did the 90% put in? Like, were they giving it their all?
I think about that with business too. I'm going through a business course right now, and they talk about like 70% of businesses fail, just a lot of businesses fail. And this guy who's like, he's built a bunch of successful businesses, he's definitely credible to say this, and he's like, it's because of like not having your mindset right.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean think positive, be optimistic. It means they don't get overwhelmed, they don't stress themselves out too much, they don't bite off more than they can chew, They just have like a proper head. So I think that's a big part of it too, at least in business.
And I'm unconvinced of pessimism. Like, I'll always stay optimistic. I mean, I could be...
Do you ever sink down to pessimism?
Yeah, you can catch yourself. I mean, my girlfriend catches me a lot too when it happens, so that's like the back and forth.
That is good.
That's nice. Yeah, she, one time I actually almost like accused her. I'm like, that's not optimism. Like, you're being blindly optimistic. Like, you're just like saying. And then what's crazy though is, like, everything that she says is gonna happen, like with your manifestation you're talking about, always happens. I just realized that recently, like, because I was like, no, that's blindly optimistic. I think she kind of hit a breaking point, and she was like, listen here, like, these are all the experiences I've had doing it, and this is what happened. I'm like, and I've witnessed them too. I was like, okay, living proof. I'm gonna start doing that now.
Yeah. I always ask myself, like, okay, if reality is the way it is, or at least you're looking at it that way, and you want it to be different and it's painful, then what is the hurt in, like, shutting that down?
Yeah,
shutting your eyes and just, like, daydreaming about something you want. And like, what the fuck does it matter?
And it's relaxing.
You feel good. Yeah. Like, just because it's not true. Like, what is true? It doesn't matter. You could have a dope ass dream and wake up and, like, really feel like, oh, that was a good dream. Are you gonna, like, disregard all the positive experiences you just had because it was a dream? No, you're gonna be like, oh, that was good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
And, like, when has anything ever really gone wrong? I know that sounds kind of crazy to say, but, like, I really feel like regret is only felt if you didn't learn the lesson. If you learn the lesson, remember we were at Donish here last time? It's like, there is no bad. Like, it all reverts back to good eventually. You just gotta have the vision about it, that it has to correspond to your life too. I
always find the yin within the yang.
Yeah.
In that sense. I notice, because this is the hardest month of the year for me, because I'm affected by the short days and the cold weather.
Oh, dude, January is so turbulent.
It's
like,
so
before
hard
the Lunar New Year comes up, it's so turbulent.
Yeah. It's and I find it hard to meditate this time of year. Like, seriously hard. Like, it's painful. I find it painful to pretty much do anything I don't want to do. It's like that time of year where I need to be lazy, or at least if I'm doing something, it's really got to matter to me, or I'm not going to fucking do it.
Summer is for thriving, winter's for surviving.
Any other time is for thriving. Like, honestly, I thrive in the fall, I thrive in the spring, summer, but like it's just this fucking month, January, February, sometimes March. It's like,
yeah, I miss the sun. Like, I'm barely outside. Yeah. I know it's an excuse, but it's cold. It's like -16. I'm not going outside.
Yeah, I mean, like, and not to mention, like, you're in a place, like, if the days were long and you got lots of sun, and like, if you had the summer mindset and it was cold, I'd be out there. But not, like, it's like forcing me in more and more.
Yeah.
It's like all the factors do not inspire me to go outside and, like, persevere. So, but then again, when I do, push through and take a cold shower in the dead of January, it feels like especially good.
Yeah, that was a couple of days ago I did that.
Did you?
It was hard, but
it's tough, man. And not to mention, like, it's colder in the winter. Like, the water is colder in the winter.
But in the summer, it's so easy. It's like in the summer, I can't even conceive taking a hot shower. It's already hot outside.
No, I gotta take a cold shower in the summer. Yeah. That's what I look forward to. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. And that's interesting to me how some people aren't affected at all by it whatsoever. Yeah. By winter. Seasonal affective disorder is what they call it. Yeah, some people just, like, they vibe. I don't know. I think it could be because I'm so fast. Like, I'm a fast person. I get shit done. I work hard. I don't know. I love to just do and experience and go. And it's like you have to rest eventually. It is very important.
Are you going to, like, pour more of your energy reserves into this podcast to, like, get more people on outside of your circle even, and also, like, maybe funnel some money into marketing and things like that?
I don't know. I do know that I just wanted to get it started.
Yeah.
Like, at the very least, have conversations with people, record them, and if it's not for anybody else, it is for yourself, because not only did you have the conversation, which is valuable, we both got value from this, but I can always look back and just have fun and be like, oh, I'm 50 years old. I'm going to listen to that one podcast I did 30 years ago.
Is this going up somewhere?
Yeah, it's going on Spotify.
Cool.
The first episode's already up, and it's on YouTube as well, the video portion and
Sweet.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not really I don't care about YouTube that much.
Me either. Yeah.
Mostly because, like, they'll take my channel down. Like, yesterday, me and my brother were talking about being unvaccinated, like a portion of that podcast, because we're both unvaccinated. And I'm sure some of the shit we said would be taken down if we were, like, popular YouTubers. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't fucking care about YouTube. Take it down. Like, whatever. Spotify is good. It'll keep it up.
I felt that way with music, too. Like, I would upload my stuff to all these different areas, but it's like, also for music, Spotify, Apple Music, all that's Deezer, anything. You play WAV files when you're listening to it, but you have to do, like, a crappy MP3 on SoundCloud or on YouTube. It's like, I don't even want to upload to these platforms.
Yeah.
It sounds terrible.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I like, I like tech companies that are, like, nice about the people who create content. Sorry, I just, like, fucking stuttered for, like, 15 seconds.
Because you cat there.
Hello, I almost said Prince. His name's P. But yeah, I just don't like YouTube for that reason, man. This guy loves to adventure. He's the most curious cat I know.
That's saying something too, because
cats are curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love black cats.
I know, he's so pretty, man. This is the guy I found in a shed.
Really?
Yeah. My friend was like, hey, there's two kittens in my shed. Would you like them? And I was like, sure, man. So it was the shed, like, roof caved in. There's shit everywhere. It's tiny. It's, like, full of stuff. And we had to take a bunch of stuff out just to, like, find them in this tiny little corner. I shined a light in their face and swooped them out of their home and brought them here, which I'm glad I did, because they would have had a rough life if they, it's rough out there for cats. They're born with worms and shit. Like, it's not good. Yeah, so I grabbed them, and he was feral too. Have you ever seen a feral cat? They like hiss at your hand. Like you'll try and feed them. They'll be like,
yeah,
like they hate it. They're just scared of humans pretty much. So I had to like wrap him in a warm blanket and like pet him while he hisses at me. And eventually he starts purring and then he's like tame. It's a very weird process. Takes like a few days. But yeah, cool guy. He's come a long way.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want a cat. My girl and I are gonna get a cat.
Once you get a place?
Yeah, I don't know when that'll be.
Mm-hmm.
Priority number one is just keep working on trading, and I'm kind of just playing the waiting game now.
Yeah.
But it's fine because honestly, I was so happy to open up FL Studio again and just to like see it. I didn't get much done, but just to see it.
Yeah. I found I put a lot of pressure on myself when it came to making music.
Yeah. I was with trading too, and I got to be honest, like I think I'm going to enjoy this break, and when I come back to it, I'm just going to like take a more lighter-hearted approach to it.
Yeah, cuz nothing good comes from that pressure. Like honestly nothing good.
No, it's just stress.
Yeah, there's like when I was stretching and I was able to like do that pattern with my fingers, that is a different kind of stress, like a positive stress, something that like helps you.
Yeah.
But the kind of like putting the gas pedal and putting the brake at the same time kind of stress that you get from being a perfectionist and that's not helpful.
Do you find that one of the best ways to excel at something you're doing is to completely go against the grain? Because everything you start doing, there's always these set rules. And I've always found that anything I did well, I broke all the rules. Like,
give me an example.
Okay, so in trading when I first started, they had all these different like patterns to trade off of that you'd see in the market. They have all these like fancy names from like the head and shoulders pattern, a double top, like a linear channel, all this stuff. And
not speaking my language.
Exactly. It wasn't speaking mine either. Yeah. Now I get it, but I was like, well, I mean, I still feel like there's too much draw down there, like there's too much error. So I kind of was like, forget this. I'm just gonna take this like foundational knowledge that I have and try to find a pattern for myself. Mm-hmm. And the pattern I found people do it, but it's definitely something like I almost never hear about, and it's crazy because it holds true so often. And I was like, why doesn't anyone do this? I think also like most people, they like to go long as opposed to short. Most people, making money from the price going up is long, making money from the price going down is short. Most people don't really go short. So I think that's like you're already seeing something that is not really taken into account there.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, why would you use a scanner and try to find these stocks or cryptos, whatever, that are going to like shoot up when you can just wait for the pop-ups to happen and then find the top and just, because what goes up must come down. It's going to go down eventually. And then just find your entry there. And it's like I said, it's nothing new. Like we were talking about earlier, like I didn't invent it. It's just common sense. And I was like, well, I like this common sense pattern more than these like super complicated patterns that like have to take all this time to develop.
It's why I don't like school.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
Like, because school seemed like one of those things where it's like, I feel like I'm taking the long way to where I want to go.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a lawyer. I'm not trying to be a doctor. Like, why am I in school?
Yeah. That
was my thought. And also a bunch of things. Cooking. Like, I don't follow recipes.
Yeah.
Music especially. I don't know if I'm doing it by the book. I have no fucking clue. But I make songs and I go about it in the way that I go about it and it works. And I'm a musician. I know how to play music. It's just the production aspect that I'm like, yeah. So, yeah, I think there are a lot of people who are sort of afraid to go against the grain in that sense.
Well, I remember when I was in school for music, I felt like that too. Like some people look at my projects and they're like, oh, well, that you're not supposed to do this. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, you're not supposed to do this.
Listen to the sound. That's all that matters.
Yeah, if it sounds good, it is good.
Yeah, like what? It's like they'll look at, it's like looking at your math work. You come out with the right answer, but they're like, that's not right.
Yeah.
It's like, look at the answer. I answered it right, so fuck how I got there.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't claim to like, oh, fuck the experts, I'm going to do it my way. It's not like that. I get what you mean. It's more of like,
You do it the way you know fits your personality best.
Yeah, like I've heard some really, really smart people as an example. And I think, wait a sec, I disagree with that. And it's like, most people wouldn't let themselves disagree with an expert. You know? It's like, I'm not an expert, but that, from what I understand, I don't agree with that. I have an argument to that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think this culture puts way too much status on like age, on your accomplishments, you know? So like, for example, you asked me about this podcast. A big part of not wanting to start it is like, oh, I'm too young. Anybody with a successful podcast is like old.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, yeah, I'm way too young. And I started realizing like the problem with that thinking, because if you're always young, you're always like the youngest you'll ever be. So
yeah.
So what's it going to be? Are you going to do it or are you not going to do it? And I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'm going to do it. And I'm probably going to look back at this episode and be like, I don't vibe with anything I said.
At some point, yeah.
But you grow. You're a fucking person. And it's like, if you're waiting for that moment where you're perfect and you're ready to say the perfect things, that moment will never come. So you'll think, oh, I'll do a podcast next year. Next year I'll be good at talking. Next year I'll be fully myself.
Yeah.
And it's like next year comes and you'll be like,
and now you say it out loud, you realize how ridiculous that sounds.
It's ridiculous.
Next year I'll be good at talking.
Yeah. And it's like, if you don't talk, you won't be good at talking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's another big aspect for me. So yeah, I am very excited about, getting it started and talking more and learning more. I think I learn more from talking to people than I do from listening to a podcast.
Are you going to have Donish on here?
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's out of town, so.
Yeah.
And I don't have a text. I messaged him on Facebook, and he's like, hey, man, text this number. It's a better way of reaching me. And I'm like, I don't have Facebook. But he left. Or I'm like, I don't have a phone. And he had already, logged off or something. And I was like, oh, fuck. Well, he's gone for a while.
Yeah.
I'll catch him when he logs back on.
We should do triple.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that, man. Definitely. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that I've thought, like, oh, it'd be cool. It'd be cool to do a podcast with them. Oh my God, he looks ratty right now. Like his hair is it's because of the static.
Yeah.
So his hair is looking funny. Funny cat.
Yeah, you got the setup. It's a good setup, I think.
I thought it was solid too. Actually, this bar was on the other side, and I had a small desk in that corner. And I was like, I even put a couch by it, and I'm like, okay, maybe they'll sit on a couch. But then I was like, I'd rather a bar. That'd be cool. And eventually I want to get a mini fridge and a little tea kettle.
Yeah.
Because I have all that upstairs, but I want to get it here so that while we're having a long conversation, I don't need to leave.
Yeah.
Or I don't need to wait till the end to be able to do those things. So yeah, I have plans and stuff. I kind of want to get another webcam. But at the same time, I don't know. Look at this. What do you think? That's what it looks like right now, us talking. And I have it positioned so if I wanted to stand, I could just kind of stand like this if I wanted to.
I honestly think that the one is good.
I thought about that too because, if I put another, it makes shit complicated.
Yeah.
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 Hey, little guy. He's so curious. Yeah, what were you going to say?
I don't even remember what I was saying now.
It happens. But yeah, I have a lot of plans with the podcast. I'm looking forward to it. Is there anything in particular else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that it's been a super valuable conversation, honestly.
Hell yeah.
I think we touched on a lot of things. I mean, I like to jump around very clearly, so.
Yeah, no, and there's no rules,
Yeah.
It's called Deep and Meaningful. I told my brother this yesterday. It's not always going to be deep, but it will be meaningful.
I don't know, not every podcast. Some of them, it's we're talking about one subject, just one subject the whole time. But I kind of like the free fallen ones. That's just all over the place.
I think it constrains a conversation.
Yeah.
You don't actually get to the point I don't know, the right points come out when they're allowed to just, it's not constrained to a box. And you kind of put yourself in a box when you're like, this podcast is going to be about this.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the way I actually title these episodes is, it'll be your name and then 3 words that explain the podcast. So I think yesterday it was like, what the fuck was it? I actually have to go see. But yeah, I just like my brother's name and then 3 words that described the... For fuck's sakes. Okay, some stuff was muted. God damn it, I did it again. Last episode, I accidentally muted something. We're gonna end it there.
Okay.
We're gonna fucking end it there. My bad. Okay, goodbye.